Response video to a YouTube video, so it's not going to be much good because I'm way over here and they're way over there, so they're probably not going to hear me. But anyway, the Modern Mystical and Matt have had this little bit of a conversation back and forth about consciousness, and it's just been, Nick uses this woo-woo term, and it's all been woo-woo, just really silly talk. I don't even see the point of it. I mean, this splitting of hairs all over the place. All right, on the subject of consciousness, I mean, it's kind of an interesting damn phenomenon. Okay, it's okay, it's worth talking about, but there's no point in talking about in this silly way. I mean, all right, so they've sort of splitting up the part where, there's the mechanical thought, I won't even say, you won't even go there yet, but there's the mush that does things, and then there's the awareness part that sees the things getting done. And so now they've sort of split consciousness up into those two elements, like the watcher and the stuff getting watched. And it's even that, okay, you say, yeah, all right, that sort of makes sense. But there's no point in even going there. Let's just look at how the thing got here. How did consciousness get here? We even had this conversation about almost talking, well, Matt certainly was, like if you put a big enough pile of seaweed in your driveway, it'll be conscious just because it'll have enough cells to declare it conscious. Like somehow mass has something to do with consciousness. It just gets silly, and it's just whatever. All right, and then, Nick is taking his pen apart, and whatever. I mean, pens are not conscious. It's just ludicrous. So anyway, all right, let's go to the biology thing again. We know what happened here. All right, it's like halfway through our evolution, coincidentally or whatever. But like at the 2 billion year point or something. Your living things started getting more sophisticated, and they acquired this ability to feel thing, and that's where the whole ball game starts. They created nervous systems, okay, not just strings you pull, not a puppet show, but a nervous system, an organ specifically designed, specifically oriented towards doing this nervous system-y thing, controlling the animal, controlling the processes within the cells, between the cells, and that changed the game. All right, it wasn't a sponge anymore. It was it was an organism, something that's organized and had to stay organized to still be it. What I think obviously came first was this weird feeling thing. I mean, if we look at our consciousness, what it's made out of is feelings and thoughts. And the thoughts make it incredibly, I won't say interesting, that's the wrong word, more meaningful somehow. But the feelings are the things at the core of the damn thing. And thoughts are sort of just a reaction to that. So anyway, but it just has to do with what was conducive to these organism things, these little reproducing machines. And so somehow the biology tapped into, through the same systems that create every other organ and every other mechanism that we contain or that any other animal possesses. I mean, a bat sonar or a dolphin sonar or whatever. I mean, all these things are manifestations of the fact that it was advantageous for an organism to acquire that. All right, and through mutation it acquired it, and so through mutation we acquired sensibility, the capacity to feel. I mean, the first organism could feel, and so it could have this thing called a sensation, and it had enough of a brain to react to the sensation and say, well, this is a positive or this is a negative. So now it could apply positive and negative through sensation to events. So we could have an experience it could equate it, it could apply a sensation to it, saying, well, that sure sucked, or that was really wonderful, and that way the organism could enhance its programming. Its programming could be enhanced. I don't want to imply that the organism did any of the work. And that's how this thing started. I mean, it's a biological function. Somewhere in our brain there is biology that allows it to happen. And you could probably wipe out a large, huge substance of our brain, and you'd still have that core of consciousness. And it would be an animal consciousness. It would be a dumb human consciousness. I mean, that's where this gets to be such a joke. As we know, 20,000 years ago, we weren't much more than fucking animals. Okay, our consciousness was just as dull as theirs is. And I don't mean that in any kind of disparaging way, but yes, it was an emotionally driven consciousness. It wasn't driven by high ideals and thoughts and conceptions, because it wasn't educated. And so ours is more organized and sophisticated, but the core feelings, the core emotions are the same ones that exist in those other animals. It's not magic, all right? It's just a biological function, like just as magnetism is a physical manifestation of the arrangement of matter in a certain configuration, consciousness ends up being a manifestation of a certain arrangement of physical material through biological mechanisms. And it's just the way it is. It just happens to be a feature that this universe a thing it can create. But it's no more worthy of magical incarnation than a shark's tooth. Okay, it's a device, and there's nothing in it we can see from the way nature has applied it and used it that has no appreciation for it having for the danger of it, or for the negative potentials of it, or for any of that stuff. So I mean, this whole conversation is just stupid, because I think the conversation has to take place consistent with our evolutionary history. I mean, our consciousness came out of there. And so it's just a mechanism to allow organisms to become better consumers and reproducers. And that's it. There's no other anything to it. All right? It is a meaningful aberration. It's powerful. It gives the universe meaning, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean that it itself is eternal and all this other crap that Matt talks about, and like we're tapping some well of consciousness that exists in the universe and all this bullshit. It's just a tool. It's a device. Period. And it's damn important. But it's not magic. It's not God-inspired. And it certainly is, if you look at it plainly, it's very dangerous. I mean, most of these people, Matt, Great Text, Matter Mystic, they don't seem to have a hell of a lot of appreciation for suffering and pain and all these things. They just sort of think that experience is just as good as the orgasm experience somehow. That somehow experiences are all equal somehow, which I can't make any sense out of that one at all. This suffering shit is important. It's not an irrelevancy, and this whole notion that you can just throw it someplace. You don't even have to. If your little brain gets the right little gears turning, that somehow you could just ignore it all. I mean, come on. That's just such horse shit. If I was more Mengele-esque, I would just love to do the experiments on you people and just see how good you are at just detaching yourselves. Because it sounds like a pile of horse shit to me. I drop a piano on your foot, you're gonna scream. But anyway, this doesn't matter. I just don't even. This is it. This is the best the conversation gets to. Is this woo-woo-y bullshit about whether it's the awareness or the other mush that's making the decisions or doing this or doing that. We know what it is. It's a mechanism that creates behavior, and it creates behavior that was conducive to the organism surviving. I mean, that's the broad outline. The more nuanced outline is, yes, it's gotten highly psychological and elaborate because of the sophistication of the environment we were living in, and the fact that we had to avoid getting eaten and still be able to scrounge up enough food to eat and do all these, the nuance of it all, because of the environment we had to compete in. And it's complex and it's sophisticated and it's all of that crap. But at its roots, it's just a device. It's just a steering wheel. It's just a clock radio. It just does what it does and makes the organism work better. But qualitatively, as an existence, it changes the dynamic, because now there is an equation out there of pain and gain. We're compelled by addiction and desire that's really contrived in us biologically to keep us moving, to keep us wanting, because that's conducive to this survival, this consumption and reproduction game. But we pay a hard price for that to satisfy that addiction, and that's the equation we've got to judge and figure out whether this life thing is worth it in the end. But that's a whole other subject. But I mean, this subject of consciousness, it is programming, it is biology, it is evolution, it is a lot of things, but it ain't this stupid whatever conversation they're having is completely irrelevant to anything that means anything on this subject. So whatever. Till next time. Just really hate that this is the best the conversation tube has to offer. Is, making distinctions between the awareness, looking at the consciousness, looking at the whatever, the was, when, what I was, war, or whatever. It's just, sorry, but what a pile of crap. Anyway, that's it. Moving on now. Doesn't really matter because nobody's listening. So I'm way over here. Nobody's listening way over here.